Hello and welcome to another video with Gamers Class, guys. This is Dota here. Hope you guys are doing good and you guys are doing good on the grind. This video is going to be all about mid matchups, just a basic understanding on how to play your matchups, what to do before you get into them, what is the kind of mindset you need to have as you are going into your games. If you are a mid laner, this video is going to be all about the mid lane. So if you are not a mid laner, I highly suggest that you should not watch this because it's not going to be of any use.
If you like this type of content, go to gamersclass.com. For just $9.99 a month, watch masterclasses with pro players, join exclusive live sessions, and get 24/7 access to coaches and other high MMR players. Get full control of your ranked games and start owning with our Supreme Dota 2 membership.
So the first thing, guys, is understanding heroes. Now, this obviously comes with a lot of time with playing a lot of Dota. If you think you will be great at understanding heroes overnight, it's not going to happen. I mean, at this point, it's quite obvious. Everyone should know this. So, in this game, guys, I picked Storm Spirit. And why did I pick Storm Spirit in this game? I'd like to talk about that more, but once the picks are done. So, the reason why I picked Storm here is for four heroes that I see. Io, no stun. Wind Ranger, yes, has a stun, but does not have a direct stun. Monkey King has a stun, but not a direct stun and not an easy stun to land on a Storm Spirit. And the duration is not that long, so Storm doesn't really care. Gyro's Missile is a stun, but again, it's not a direct stun, so you can't get caught out. As a Storm Spirit, you have problems playing against heroes like Lion, like Shaman, like Silencer that directly just completely negate your impact, or even Puck that can just instantly coil you or silence you. But since I don't see any of these heroes against me, I know it's a good Storm Spirit game. Apart from the fact that I don't have any counters for my hero, Storm Spirit is overall really good against their heroes as well. I can simply catch the IO, and the IO cannot have an impact in his team fights because he will not heal, he can't do anything. It's a squishy hero if you really jump him. The thing about IO is IO likes to stay on the back and heal people, save people. But if you just jump him and kill him, the IO does absolutely nothing. What does the monkey like to do? The monkey likes to stay on trees and eventually use a good ultimate and stun and get the team fight going. But as a Storm Spirit, I can just jump onto these trees and find where the Monkey King is hiding and kill him, right? So I obviously know most of these matchups because I've played a lot of Dota, and at this point it just comes as an intuition that if I see Monkey, if I see Io, I will just instantly pick Storm. But I'm talking about all this so you guys can learn as well. So these are some of the reasons why I pick Storm Spirit, and it's only because I understand heroes. Obviously you'll have to play more games, play more heroes, and that's how you're gonna understand heroes. But understanding heroes even before the game has started is very important.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
So the enemy picks an Ember Spirit here, and they can't really do much to my Storm. Yes, they have chains. Yes, they have a missile. Yes, they have a boundless strike. Yes, they have a shackle. But all of this can be played around quite easily, and I know it's a good Storm Spirit game. Apart from the fact that this guy shackles me. In my head, it's like, if I just own him in the lane, I will eventually win the game, because the only hero that can actually do something against me is the Ember Spirit. His chains are quite easy to land on a Storm, even though that is not a direct stun or anything, but it's quite easy to land it on a Storm. The second thing, guys, is starting items. Now, I could just tell you that the current items that I've bought are the best items and you should buy this every game just like a robot and just follow what I do and you will get to my MMR, which is somewhat true. You can copy certain builds and win a lot of games, but eventually what's going to happen is when you're copying a build and you're not doing it by intuition or by your own mind, what happens is once a new patch comes out, once a new meta comes out, you're clueless again, and then you're looking at other videos or other replays to copy, and eventually you never grow on a personal level. You're just copying others, and they will always be on the top and you will always be somewhere close to them but never there, if that makes sense. So these are things that you want to learn on your own, and you want to improvise yourself. For example, this build is really good. Most mid laners are actually going for this build. That's why everyone does it. Everyone goes for this build. But in different matchups, different situations, you have to buy different items and you have to adapt to the situation. For example, if you are laning a Batrider, you have to buy a magic stick. If you're laning a Shadow Fiend, you have to buy a magic stick because the Shadow Fiend will spam raises. Batrider will spam napalms. Zeus, Storm, all of these heroes spam a lot of spells. So you start with a magic stick and then you have to change your items. Sometimes you completely ignore that magic stick because you just want more damage and you want to CS more. It's more about understanding starting items and understanding what kind of values you will get from every item you buy. And it is obviously something that you will have to learn on your own as you play your games. But the most important thing is to keep it in check. Keep a checklist when you go into a game. And this checklist should be like 2 things I've already talked about: understanding heroes and starting items. The third thing, I've already talked about this in a lot of my videos, just not particularly on matchups, but overall I've talked about blocking. Blocking is just so important for the laning stage, guys. It's so important. I can't stress it enough. If you don't block good, you should not play mid. That's just how it is. This blocking gives you so many advantages, and I'm amazed how a lot of players are not doing this right now as a mid laner. They don't do it perfectly, they miss their blocks, and they don't really put a lot of importance into it, even though I personally think it's a very, very important aspect of the mid lane. So if you get a good block, there's so many things that you get as an advantage. For example, you get 1 regen from the tower when you're nearby the tower. You get 3 armor from the tower when you're close. Apart from that, if you are laning a ranged hero, what's going to happen is every time you are on the high ground right here, every time the enemy hits you, he's going to miss. Every time he tries to trade with you, he's going to miss. He's going to feel bad about trading with you. Eventually, if you trade with him, you will win the trade. And the mid lane is all about trading, all about harassing the enemy and staying higher HP than the enemy is. Eventually, one of you will give in after the trading, and whoever gives in loses the matchup most of the times. If the enemy has low HP than you do, you are winning the lane. Not only do you get regen and armor by a good block, you also avoid a lot of ganks. For example, if you are close to your tower, it is very hard for the enemy to actually gank you. It is super hard. They will not just run at you out of nowhere because they know the tower does a lot of damage, and it's very hard to dive you under the tower. So blocking, guys, overall it's super important. Keep that in your head as you get into a game, as the game is starting. Just keep it on a checklist. The fourth thing I want to talk about is last hitting. Now, last hitting is, I think, is the most obvious concept right now in the game. Everyone knows that it's very important, but how do you actually improvise on it? Now, if you have a look at this, what did I do here? This is me clearly understanding that my hero right now is way stronger. Why? I can secure this range creep with a Remnant, and this Ember has absolutely no way to stop me from doing so. Even if he is 10k MMR, he cannot deny this range creep. Even if he is the best player in the world, he cannot deny this creep. That's just how Dota works, and I know this. There's no way he can stop me. But, however, I can stop him from getting this range creep. He does not have a spell that does direct damage like my Remnant, and I want to abuse this. So what do I do here? I secure the range creep with Remnant, and I deny his. And I'm already on a lead now. I have more experience than he does, and if I keep this up, I will eventually win this lane. So last hitting is very, very important, and this comes with a lot of things. There's a lot of things that you can do for last hitting, such as you can always harass the enemy to pressure him. When you're harassing the enemy, 2 things will happen. 1, the enemy will either back off, or 2, the enemy will commit and die. Either way, it's a good situation. Or the third situation that could happen is that you miscalculated the trade and you will die yourself. And again, like I said, these are things that you will learn as you play more and more Dota, but it is something that you want to keep in check. It is something that you want to have in mind when you're playing your games. That harassing the enemy for a better CS is super important. If you notice, I'm constantly harassing this Ember, and as he's being harassed, he has 2 options. 1, he completely commits and fights me, 2, he backs off to go regen or something, and meanwhile I will deny his creeps. So if you notice, one way or the other, I am winning this lane. Either he dies to me, or second, I deny most of his creeps. If I'm denying most of his creeps, I'm already winning the lane. He's not getting any gold, I'm getting gold, I'm denying a lot of experience, I'm getting a lot of experience myself. So one way or the other, I'm winning the lane, either by killing him or just zoning him out and denying creeps. So last hitting is very important, like I said, and there are so many ways to do it. It's just something that you want to keep in mind as you get into your games. Now, the fifth thing that I want to talk about is carrying a lot of regen on you. And this doesn't mean that you should buy 2 or 3 salves as the game has started or something. This means just calculating how much damage the enemy does. This means that you want to be at least higher than half HP in the lane, or have more HP than the enemy does. Like if you look at this situation right here, he has really low HP compared to me, right? And what this does is this puts me in a good spot. He's very scared that he can die. I'm not scared I will die because I have higher HP. He will never trade with me. So since he's scared and he's playing really passive, what I can do is I can deny creeps, and eventually I will win this matchup just because of my regen management. I knew my limits. I knew how much regen I have, how I can trade with him and still be higher HP, and eventually this will make me win the lane, and this will eventually make him lose the lane as well. Another thing I just overall want to talk about is that this guy bought really bad starting items, and that's why he's struggling in this lane. He has no stats, he has no damage, no armor, nothing, because he just bought a magic stick, which is kind of stupid given his rank. He's 500 rank on the immortal, so it's kind of weird. But yeah, he messed up his starting items, and I've talked about it in this video, how important your starting items are. So that's just something I wanted to talk about, just off topic. But yes, regen, guys, is super important, and just keeping it in check will improve your gameplay at mid. So the last thing I want to talk about is runes. Now, the 4-minute runes are the most important runes in the game. This will make or break your game. If you get the 4-minute rune, you are more likely to win your lane because it's so strong. If it's a double damage, regen, arcane, you can use it to your advantage and the enemy can't really do much about it. If it's a double damage, you deny most of the creeps. Well, actually, you deny every single creep if you're a good last hitter, because you have double the damage than the enemy does, and you harass the enemy more. If you have illusions, you stack camps with illusions, and eventually you will farm these camps and you will be ahead. If you get arcane, you spam spells and zone the enemy out. If you get regen, you trade with the enemy, and eventually you have a lot of regen on you, so he will lose that trade off as well. Long story short, guys, the 4-minute rune is the most important rune in the game, and if you get it one way or the other, you are way more likely to win the game, or at least go stronger into the mid game after your laning stage is over. I believe the laning stage for mid lane is entirely determined on the 4-minute power rune, and there's a lot of ways to secure this. One is asking your support to show up. 2 is you harass the enemy to the point where they just don't even bother going to the rune because they know they will die if they go over there. 3 is having a hero that just goes to the rune way faster, such as Cop or Puck, that can simply just blink or orb to the rune and get it and get there faster. Again, there's a lot of ways to secure runes, but what's the most important thing is to understand how important the runes are. If you don't know what you're doing wrong, or if you don't have a purpose as you're going into a game, you're going to be clueless. So these are the 6 things, guys. 6 things that you want to keep in mind as you go into a game of Dota as a mid laner. And just to give you guys a conclusion, I've talked about 6 things: understanding heroes, starting items, blocking, last hitting, regen, and runes. Make this a checklist. Keep this in your mind as you go into a game, and I assure you, your games will be much better than before. It will take time, Nothing happens overnight. Nothing happens in the course of a day. But if you keep these things in mind and you grind every day like this, your win rate is going to be much, much higher, and you're going to be way more satisfied with your gameplay compared to where you are right now. So, yep, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you like it. If you do, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Shizzy Dota signing out. I will be seeing you in the next videos. Have a good day/night. Bye bye.